I've never moderated anything in my life.
Yeah, I've never been moderated, so.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm always asked, how do you write something funny? And I always say, well, I laugh first and then work backwards. I think what we'd like to talk about tonight is the psychology of the room, the dynamics of the writer's room, because television shows are both very collaborative and very individual. And we're lucky to have the two of you here because you represent, I think, the height of what comedy is on television today. It's such a fragile thing when you're doing comedy to know, like, to be able to capture what it was that initially, what the spark was that made you laugh at it. And if you take the idea you had in the shower at home, you bring it in the room, and there you have everyone who hears it. So how do you deal with that when you think you've got something that's going to really help the show and you get cricket sounds or it doesn't work?
Well, I feel like the best ideas I ever come up with, I feel like I had no control over coming up with them. They're just like a little voice in my head pops in. It's when I feel like I'm really wringing something out to trying to find connections that it's harder, you know.
And you need both of those things to happen to get a show done, and so you hire talented people who you hope will have those moments of inspiration, those moments in the shower where they have a great idea and just know it's a great idea, but also you've got those deadlines constantly approaching, and sometimes you have to wring it out. You have to just grind it out, and it's not always a fun way to produce something that's supposed to be fun. There are times, my favorite time sometimes, just perversely, is when you absolutely think you have it, you've got it solved, and you pitch it, and it's just nothing. It's like, what was I thinking? There's sort of a perverse thrill in that. But what you really want is someone to solve it.
I mean, we know that we're paid to be there to generate ideas, so you can't really hang on to things for long, right?
Yeah.
You have to go to the next one. But so this is where you come in, Robert, which is like, do you ever feel someone hangs on to an idea and you have to kind of pry their hands off of it to move on?
At 30 Rock, I've had much less of that than I've had at other places. I mean, I think, because it's so much, another thing worth talking about in terms of what the life in that room is like is the chemistry of who the people are. And a lot of really great, brilliant, creative people are difficult personalities. And Tina and I decided we weren't super interested in that. We'd rather lose a brilliant person than look across the table at 4 in the morning at that person and want to kill him or her. And so we've managed to get really brilliant people who are also nice people and team players. And so I haven't felt that so much. There was early going, this guy who is now running another show out in LA. He just had fixated on this story about Tracy getting becoming an honorary cop. Like, I guess sometimes celebrities become honorary policemen, and sort of that he would run around with a badge and he was like fighting crime or something. And he just pitched this whole thing out, and it was no good. It was, I mean, and Jack would admit that. And I think as a bit, he just kept bringing it back the entire year. So when you're pitching something that doesn't feel right, it's not right.
I had the chance to work with some of these legendary punch-up people who would come in for a day's work and get paid an enormous amount of money. And there was one who would sit quietly for a long time, and then he would just say to us, boys, because there were a lot of men in the room, he would say, boys, page 38's coming up, GS, guaranteed scream. And page 38 would come up, and it would be a guaranteed scream. It would be hilarious. And that's.
Oh, I thought you meant it'd be terrible.
I thought it'd be horrible.
I know.
Setting it up like that, it's just set to
We
fail.
would all root against it because he was so arrogant about it, but he did it.
Wow. GS.
And
That's awesome.
yeah, GS. Do you find
Start using that.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
And then I also was fortunate enough to work with David Lloyd in the room.
Oh, wow.
Who, on a couple of shows, who was an astonishing writer in that he would give your show an ending. He would save a scene, and those are the hardest things to do, is to have an out.
Absolutely.
So in a writer's room, do you feel the dynamics of family come into play, like you become a family in a writer's room? And
I mean, we're all very, very comfortable with each other. And if there's anyone that is sort of poo-pooing someone's pitch, it doesn't immediately become a negative room because everyone yells pitch killer at them. and then we just sort of start over again, because sort of the whole philosophy behind how we come up with ideas is that improv thing, like yes and. It's like someone gives you an idea and then you consider it and add to it. So it's very supportive, and
I think a team maybe is a better analogy than a family, just because I had good team sports experiences and I hate my family, and I love my family. But I
This is going on the internet.
no, I know.
Okay.
I do love them very much. I haven't known my children that long, so I'm withholding judgment. You know, on a narrative show, you're all trying to achieve the same goal, which is to go home as soon as possible. So whoever has the best ideas, you know, it's competitive in that way, but you're hopefully all heading the same way. The train is leaving the station every morning, and everyone's got to be on the train instead of 12 individual trains. We work in metaphors a lot, writers. As a writer, I'm really good with metaphors.
Do you have favorites that you like to work with?
favorite people?
Yeah. You go like sometimes, oh boy,
I do feel like you're in, you know, I have 11 different relationships with people, and some people you work a different way than other people.
And you have the added luxury of getting to write about a writer's room as well as someone's life. So.
Right. Which
is it a luxury or is it hard?
I don't think so. I don't think it is a luxury. I don't, because we don't find ourselves at all interesting as human beings. It certainly is. You know, adheres to write what you know, I suppose. And a lot of stories, you know, come out of personal experiences that people have had in the industry or what have you.
You know, there's such dysfunction normally associated with comedy.
Right.
That, I mean, for the longest time, maybe you guys have reformed this. I mean, comedy was where you went to when your family was fucked up. Right? I mean, and we used to sit around and talk about how difficult and challenging and awful our family was.
There's a guy I work with, Glenn, who created Daria. And, you know, he definitely comes from that camp of sort of like cynical, funny, stuff like that, and he always, there's also like a group of very happy-go-lucky people on our show, and he's just like, what the fuck happened to you? I have no idea why you're here. It doesn't make any sense that any of you are in comedy. You know? Still trying to figure it out.
No, it's
how do you know
that Darwinian thing? I mean, either it's funny or it's not, or you get the laugh or it's not, either it's GS or it isn't.
I'll give you the name of that guy later.
Okay, I'm trademarking it.
Do you have in memory any rooms or groups you worked with where the atmosphere was not so positive?
Yeah, I mean, I've had pretty good experiences. I mean, day to day, you know, some days you might not have a great day. It might be a harder script you're slogging through, or there was a writer when he first started. We had a hard time writing with each other because he would pitch a joke. And I would sort of, you know, okay, I'm not crazy about that. And then I would pitch a joke, and he didn't like mine either. And we had a hard time. We would always like fight like brother and sister trying to get our script out. And now he's one of my absolute favorite people to write with, because we started like yes-anding each other. We started listening to each other's ideas, even if it wasn't crazy in that iteration. We would kind of like just riff on it a little bit and then arrive at a third place that was way funnier than either of the other first two jokes that we wrote together.
In terms of the weight of what a good joke is, you want it from anywhere. And a good room is one where everyone feels like they're being heard and feels like comfortable to speak, and no one is shutting down. I would say even at 30 Rock you can make, and it's just the best staffs I've ever worked with, but you can make bad decisions about the combinations of people. I mean, and by which I mean two people who inject a lot of energy into the room can kind of just cancel each other out. And that's something that's a good person to have, one of those people, but even in a good show, even in a place where it is all nice. But yeah, I think there's something that was alluded to earlier, which is that sort of pitch killer thing of like, let it breathe, let it go. We'll find if it's good or not, especially the kind of, you get in a room of people who are killing ideas without having ideas of their own is my least favorite thing.
Yeah. Right. What do you think makes a good producer on one of these shows?
You look at the front of a half hour and it's producer, supervisor, producer, all that stuff. So when you break up rooms, someone has to be in charge of that room, and that's the person who's leading and guiding the discussion and the conversation, and making decisions about what direction that conversation should go. I'm a believer, for what it's worth, in small rooms. I just find that people are a little more focused in a 4 or 5 person room than in a 7 or 8 person room. but it can be, there's no vote taken on anything specific, but it can be democratic even when I'm trying to be autocratic. If I think I'm right and I feel that the room is absolutely against me, and the room is usually right. I wrote just a crazy Tracy cutaway once for Tracy Morgan's character, where he had put out an album and he had done this song called Werewolf Bar Mitzvah. It was just sort of like a novelty song, and I had just written the line, Werewolf Bar Mitzvah, spooky, scary. And I thought I just thought rhythmically when I was writing it, it wants to be really, really fast. And then a writer named Tammy Sager, a very funny woman, in the rewrite, pitched a further line, boys becoming men, men becoming wolves, which is great. But I sort of clung, and I can just remember this is 4 years ago or 3 years ago, clung to what I thought was supposed to be the rhythm of what it wanted to be. I was like, oh, we'll end up cutting that, but the room insisted, and we kept it, and it was much, much better. And it is what people sort of cite when they mention that song, if they enjoyed that. And I have to say, I did write that episode. I did not write that line.
I saw that you're credited with that song on your IMDb page.
Is it right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Royalty checks just pouring in.